The prison yard went quiet. 5 men were walking toward Mike Tyson in formation, moving with purpose, and everyone in the yard could see it. Inmates who'd been playing basketball stopped mid-game. Men lifting weights set down their barbells. Conversations died. Everyone knew what this was. Victor's crew didn't approach people casually. When they came at you like this, organized, deliberate, it meant something. Mike stood near the fence, watching them come. He didn't move, didn't back up, just waited. What happened in the next 5 minutes would become one of the most talked about moments in that prison. But before we get to that moment, if you're enjoying these untold Mike Tyson stories, we post new videos every single day, so hit that subscribe button and don't miss out. Now, to understand how 5 gang members surrounding Mike Tyson led to one of them nearly getting destroyed, we need to go back to the beginning of that day. It was mid-afternoon in 1993, several months into Mike Tyson's sentence. He was 26 years old, adjusting to the rhythms of prison life, the schedules, the hierarchies, the unwritten rules that could make the difference between safety and danger. That morning during breakfast, Mike had been sitting alone at a table in the cafeteria, eating his eggs and toast while reading a book from the prison library. He preferred eating alone. It gave him time to think, to read, to have some mental space in a place where privacy barely existed. He was halfway through his meal when someone walked past his table. Not just walked past, deliberately slowed down, making sure Mike noticed. Mike looked up. A Latino guy, probably late 20s, wearing the standard orange uniform. His name was Carlos. Carlos stopped next to Mike's table. "Victor wants to talk to you." Mike set down his book. "Who's Victor?" Carlos smiled slightly. "You'll find out." Then he walked away without another word. Mike watched him go, then returned to his breakfast. He'd been approached before by various inmates wanting to talk. This felt different, though, more organized. The morning passed. Cell inspection at 9. Mail call. Mike had a letter from his lawyer. He read it in his cell, processing updates on his appeals. At 1:30 p.m., the announcement came over the intercom. C block, yard time, 30 minutes. The prison yard was maybe 100 feet square, surrounded by high concrete walls topped with razor wire. Guard towers at 2 corners, officers watching with binoculars. Basketball court on one side, weight equipment on another, open area for walking or standing in groups. Mike walked out into the afternoon sun. The yard was already populated with maybe 50 or 60 inmates. Some playing basketball, some lifting weights, others just standing around talking. Mike started his usual routine, walking the perimeter. He did this most days, using the time to move his body, to think, to feel something other than confinement. He was on his second lap when he noticed the atmosphere shifting. Conversations getting quieter. People glancing in one direction, then quickly looking away. Mike followed their gaze and saw 5 men standing together near the basketball court. They weren't playing, weren't exercising, just standing there watching him. The 5 men started walking toward him, not rushing, but moving with clear purpose. As they got closer, they spread out slightly, forming a loose semicircle. Mike stopped walking and turned to face them, waiting. By now, most of the yard had noticed. The basketball game had slowed to a stop. Weightlifters were pausing mid-set. Everyone sensed something significant was about to happen. The man in front was Latino, probably mid-30s, with calm confidence. His name was Victor, and he carried himself like someone used to being in charge. Behind Victor were 4 others. Snake, a lean, watchful man in his early 30s. Victor's enforcer. Carlos, the one from breakfast, younger and more energetic. Dexter, late 20s with intelligent, calculating eyes. And then there was Big Tommy. Big Tommy was impossible to miss. 6'4", easily 250 pounds of prison yard muscle. Arms thick from endless workouts, chest broad, neck like a tree trunk. Short brown hair and a face that showed very little expression. What caught Mike's attention immediately was that Big Tommy was staring at him. Not glancing, not looking casually. Staring. Direct, unblinking eye contact with an intensity clearly meant to intimidate. Victor stopped about 6 feet from Mike. The others fanned out, completing the semicircle. Not overtly threatening yet, but definitely controlling the space. "Mike Tyson," Victor said, his voice friendly but measured. "Finally getting to meet you properly." Mike nodded slightly. "Victor?" Victor's eyebrows raised. "You know who I am? Good. Saves time." He gestured around. "I run things in C Block. My organization keeps order, handles problems, makes sure people who need protection get it." Mike didn't respond, just waited. "We want you with us," Victor said directly. "You'd be an asset. Protection, respect, access to resources. Life in here gets easier when you're part of something organized." Mike shook his head. "I don't need protection." Victor laughed, genuinely amused. "Everyone needs friends in here, Mike. Nobody's tough enough to stand completely alone in prison." While Victor was talking, Mike's attention kept getting pulled to Big Tommy. The guy hadn't moved, hadn't shifted his posture, hadn't said a word, but he was still staring at Mike with that same intense, unblinking focus. Arms crossed, jaw clenched, radiating silent aggression. Snake spoke up. "This place isn't like outside, Tyson. Different rules here." Mike returned his focus. "Same rules apply everywhere. Respect people. Don't cross boundaries." Carlos grinned. "With us, you don't wait in lines. You eat first, shower when you want, use the phone when you need to." "I'm doing fine without it," Mike said. Throughout this entire exchange, Big Tommy hadn't looked away once. His stare had become so noticeable that even the other crew members were occasionally glancing at him. Mike's eyes shifted directly to Tommy. "You got something to say?" Tommy didn't respond, just kept staring, expression unchanging. Victor glanced back at Tommy, then to Mike. "Tommy's just here to listen. He's not much of a talker." Mike kept his eyes locked on Tommy. "Then why is he staring at me like that?" For several seconds, Tommy still didn't respond. The silence stretched out, becoming uncomfortable. Then Tommy finally spoke. His voice was deep, slow, deliberate. "I don't talk when the boss is talking. That's respect." He paused, but don't push your luck, Tyson. Even Victor looked slightly surprised. Tommy was usually completely silent during these conversations. Hearing him speak and make a threat was unprecedented. Mike's expression changed, something that might have been amusement. "Let me get this straight," Mike said, his tone almost friendly. "You're too respectful to talk when Victor's having a conversation. But you're not too respectful to threaten people?" Tommy's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Mike continued, "That's interesting. Selective respect. Respectful when it's convenient. Disrespectful when you want to intimidate." Carlos and Dexter exchanged glances. This wasn't going the way these conversations usually went. "Usually," Mike said, "the biggest guy in the room is the quietest. Doesn't need to talk, doesn't need to stare, His presence is enough. Tommy's face started to flush. But you're doing both. Staring hard, making threats, working overtime to look intimidating. Mike paused, like you're trying to convince everyone, maybe even yourself, that you're tough. Tommy's face went from flushed to red. His arms uncrossed, his whole body tensed. He took a step forward toward Mike. Mike moved instantly. Before Tommy's second step, Mike's hand shot out and grabbed the front of Tommy's orange uniform, twisting the fabric. Tommy's forward motion stopped completely. Tommy's eyes went wide. He tried to break the grip, but Mike's hold was immovable. The other four reacted immediately. Snake grabbed Mike's shoulder from behind, trying to pull him back. "Whoa! Let him go!" Dexter grabbed Tommy's arm, trying to pull him backward. "Tommy, back off! What are you doing?" Carlos jumped between them, hands up. "Stop! Both of you!" Victor's voice cut through. "Enough! Everyone back off!" But for a moment, nobody actually moved. Mike held Tommy's uniform. Tommy stood frozen, hands on Mike's wrist, but not pulling. The shock was still processing. In those few seconds, Tommy felt something that changed everything. The iron strength in Mike's grip. The absolute control. If Mike wanted to do more, Tommy couldn't stop him. Mike released the uniform and stepped back. Snake and Carlos immediately moved to create space between them. Dexter turned on Tommy, his voice harsh. "Have you lost your mind?" Snake was in Tommy's face. "Did you forget who this is? What he can do?" Carlos looked at Tommy with genuine concern. "One punch, Tommy. One punch and you're unconscious. You want that?" Tommy's breathing was heavy. The adrenaline was wearing off and reality was setting in. He'd just tried to confront Mike Tyson, and in that split second of physical contact, he'd felt the massive difference. "You're right," Tommy said quietly, looking at Mike. "I got carried away. That was stupid." Snake shook his head. "Yeah, it was. Nearly got yourself destroyed over words." Dexter kept his grip on Tommy's shoulder. "Use your brain, man. That's Mike Tyson." Victor stepped forward, his voice calm. "My apologies, Mike. Tommy's enthusiastic sometimes." Mike's voice was level. "He's not enthusiastic. He's stupid. There's a difference." Victor didn't argue. "Fair enough." He paused. "The offer stands. Join us. You'd be more than protected. You'd be respected, connected." "I appreciate the offer," Mike said. "But I work alone. That's not changing." "This is a mistake," Victor said, carrying a hint of warning. "In here, isolation is dangerous." "Maybe," Mike replied. "But it's my mistake to make." Victor studied him, then nodded. "The offer stays open. Think about it." He turned to his crew. "Let's go." The 5 men walked away. Tommy in the middle, still being lectured by Snake and Dexter. Carlos kept glancing back at Mike, reassessing everything. As they left, noise gradually returned to the yard. Everyone had watched, and everyone was talking. Mike resumed his walk like nothing had happened. Before we continue, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Was Mike right to refuse? Now back to the story. That evening in the cafeteria, Mike noticed the difference. People gave him more space. When he walked past tables, conversations paused. Victor's crew was at their usual table. Tommy sat quietly, occasionally getting looks from his friends, who still couldn't believe what he'd tried to do. Mike got his food and sat alone. He understood now. Victor ran an operation that controlled resources and offered protection in exchange for loyalty. Most inmates eventually joined or paid tribute. It was easier, safer, but Mike had spent his life surrounded by people trying to control him, trying to use his name for their benefit. He wasn't going to accept that arrangement now. The next few days were quiet. Victor's crew left Mike alone. Tommy avoided even looking in his direction, the memory of how easily Mike had controlled him still fresh. Other inmates approached Mike more carefully, more respectfully. Word had spread about what happened in the yard. A week later, Mike was walking the yard when Victor approached alone. No crew, no backup. "Mike," Victor said, falling into step. "Victor." "No hard feelings about last week?" "No feelings at all." Victor nodded. "Tommy learned something important. Offers still open if you change your mind." "I won't." "I respect that," Victor said. "You're not isolated. You're independent. Different thing." He stopped walking. "Good luck, Tyson." He walked away, leaving Mike to finish his lap alone.